follows an eternity of terror and suspense as a killer stalks the streets of a city in search of unsuspecting victims to quench his never-ending thirst for blood.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast That Wouldn't Die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Ciao.
This week, we're discussing the Giallo classic, Four Flies on Grey Velvet, directed by Dario Argento, starring some people, vaguely,
Some folks
some
that
Americans.
are important to their parents. They're important to their friends, you know.
That's true.
That situation.
Some Italian people are in there as well. Who's to say? Each week on the podcast That Wouldn't Die, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genre with a comedic twist. Aaron, how are you doing?
Dude, it's been a busy week. I went to see Måneskin, which was freaking amazing. Erin was on the floor. She was like 15 feet away.
Did you
Oldest
fly
person.
solo?
I had to fly solo. I sold my ticket. It like posted and sold immediately. I'm like, shit, I should have charged more for that.
Right.
I took it as a loss. It was amazing. But then I have my usual, now how do I get home? Where do I wander in the darkest part of LA to pick up an Uber? But made it home safe and sound. But it was incredible. It was incredible. I'm total fangirling them, so.
We talked about how I have no idea who this band is or anything about.
Well, don't worry, because now I'm going to go on TikTok and send you like literally 10,000 videos from the LA concert, which is all over my TikTok feed.
Not necessary.
No. And they're babies. They're like 22, 23, and 24. They're like little babies. So
They're old enough to be your children.
I'm clearly a sexual predator now
Yes.
that I am going to this concert.
I'm glad you admit it, at least.
It's fantastic, and they're all into like. At one point, I looked in front of me. I was like, "Oh, there's the bass player." They like go through the crowds. They're crowd surfing.
What kind of music is it? I don't even know.
It's rock and roll. They won the VMA for best rock group.
Oh, okay. Why is it called Måneskin?
It means moonlight and some Norwegian bullshit. I know it sounds like it sounds. No, they're from Rome. They're Italian, and I don't know, but it looks dirty.
Fair enough.
It sounds like some penis slang. Every time I look at it, I'm like, is this some like streets of Wiener slang? I don't know.
It must be.
I'm exhausted of that. I'm just exhausted. I felt great when I went to bed. I woke up. I was partially paralyzed for just bouncing around for 2 hours. And then last night I saw Evil Dead the Musical. A must-see. It was hysterical. It was hysterical hijinks. They take elements from all three movies. This is my boomstick. It was great. It was great. It's just nods to the fan. At one point, one of the zombies is reading like Bruce Campbell's autobiography. It's just nonsense. And I went with two people who have never seen any of the Evil Dead movies. So hopefully they enjoyed it. And there was a splatter zone. Because at one point, blood, after every scene, they have to dim the lights and mop all the blood up. And so the first 4 rows are the splatter zone. So literally at one point, stuff is just spraying. Blood is just spraying into the audience. It was very funny.
I have 2 of Bruce Campbell's books. I was going to order the third one. I think I put it on like my birthday list or whatever. But the book was called like Make Love the Bruce Campbell Way. And I think Becky was bothered by that. So I did not get that book, to say the least. I have Hail to the Chin over here that I'm going to crack into a little bit.
How much is going on in his life that there's 3 books about him?
I think
Truman had 1. Churchill, it was 1, but it was gigantic. But Bruce Campbell's got 3?
Only 1.
Only Absolutely. 1. Bruce Campbell, 3.
J.D. Salinger.
1.
Good times. Let's jump right in. Give us your 30-second synopsis of Four Flies on Grey Velvet.
Well, as with all the Giallo, somebody dies, someone investigates, the end may or may not make sense.
Correct.
I get the Four Fly reference. I don't remember seeing any gray velvet.
Well, okay. So they used a special science on one of the victims where they can look at the retina and there's like an image that's I don't know if this is true or not. This sounds like a bunch of baloney.
Okay, this is not true. This is like an old theory. So back in
Right.
the old days, like Jack the Ripper, they would cut out the eyes
And
because
shine
that
light
was it
through
was
the
like
retina.
imprint. Yeah.
Right.
This is
Shine-
bullshit.
They shine
Science.
a light through the retina, and the last thing that the victim saw is revealed. And evidently, they saw what looked like 4 flies on a gray background. Essentially, is what it looked like, and it was later revealed. Spoiler alert! In ridiculous
Spoiler.
fashion, that the murderer wears some kind of pendant heretofore never discussed or revealed. That looks like it's got like a weird little fly in it for some reason. And when
I believe it has a fly.
Which again, never heretofore never discussed, and it swings when she attacks. It was swinging back and forth, so it looked like, you know, 4, like if you froze time, I guess 4 times, it looked like it was 4 flies. And I guess she was wearing a gray turtleneck. I don't know what the story is. Something.
All I can tell you is if you're going to be a serial killer, it's important to wear a statement necklace.
A long dangly thing that the victim can grab at. That's very important. And why is this popular in Rome in 1973 that you got to have like a weird fly necklace?
I got to tell you, Italy's about the fashion. So maybe, or as they say in Italiano, forse.
So should I get you a fly necklace and a
Dude,
gray
motherfucker, if you see that, you will buy it for me for the Christmas gift exchange.
Absolutely. Oh, by the way, speaking of fashion, we talked about this briefly. I have, for a long time, probably since I saw the Omega Man, I'd wanted my own safari jacket. Okay. And there was one I saw on Amazon that I thought looked kind of cool. It didn't look too safari-ish, I thought. I thought it looked kind of like, you know, it kind of suggested safari without being too bizarre.
Belt or Sansa belt?
No, Sansa belt, no belt. Because the belt I thought was a bridge too far in my mind. So
1962 Sean Connery, perhaps.
That's correct. That's correct. I don't want to look like Michael Caine in Zulu.
Are you sure?
Well,
are you sure?
Maybe a little bit. So there was one that I saw on Amazon that I liked, and it was all out. It was out of stock. And eventually, just spontaneously, I kind of popped in there earlier this week, and it was available in my size. I'm like, I'm getting this. $35, you know, a bargain at twice the price. So I order it. It arrives the next day. I am thrilled. I pop it in the dryer, get the wrinkles out. I'm putting it on. I'm like, ooh la la. Becky comes home and is like horrified. She's like, what is this? What are you doing? And I guess it was like a khaki, but in her eyes, and evidently a lot of people's eyes, it just looked white. Like I was wearing like a lab coat or something, wandering around with weird big pockets and things like that. Yes. I didn't see it.
Don't you let these people get your wife. Get her right here now. Don't you let these people kill your fashion dreams.
So her folks, her mom and Craig came later that night.
Wait. The whole family was involved to discuss your jacket?
They came by later to drop off something. And they're like, Kevin, why don't you put on the jacket and model it for them and get their opinion? Similar opinion. When would you wear that? I don't want people to make fun of you. Kind of this attitude. So I'm like, slowly my dreams.
What kind of a family is this? Just bully. Well,
then my son comes down.
Oh,
and I'm
Jesus
like,
Christ.
Look at this. Isn't this great? He's looked at it and he's just like, what the hell is this? Again, I just don't know when you would wear this, Dad. When would you wear this? And I'm like, first of all, if I want a light earth tone jacket, it's perfect for that.
Like Obama, you want a light tan suit, brother.
Right. It's kind of a canvas. You know what I mean? I can just throw it on a little something. Or if I go on safari, I'm covered.
Covered.
Nobody, these pleas landed on deaf ears. So Back in the box it went.
They broke your
Bye-bye.
dreams. I'm
My
sad. I'm gonna
dreams
cry.
ruined.
I'm gonna tell Mom.
Becky says she will shop with me and help me choose something more appropriate. So I guess that's something.
Clearly,
Wah, wah.
I don't fucking listen to anybody. Heather
Clearly.
rolls her eyes at my shit all the time, and I'm like, "Fuck off! You clearly are insane." Because when I was at IKEA, I just picked this up, and I have been dying to get this, but it was always sold out. So now I officially have the IKEA hat. Not sure where I'll be wearing that, but perhaps with a safari jacket.
Perhaps. Now, for people who are just listening, if you go to IKEA, they have these blue kind of plasticky bags that you can walk around in and fill crap up with. Aaron has found the matching hat, the matching bucket hat, if you will,
Bucket hat.
to go with that. So it's good for any occasion.
It's
Good
good. I'm
times.
gonna wear it for Christmas, perhaps. Perfect.
Perhaps. Sweet Jesus. Did you give us your 30-second synopsis? I don't even remember.
Yeah, it's basically you got a rich man who's married, but
He's
shit's
not rich.
She's rich.
His
Shit's
wife's rich.
shit's happening. Stalkers are appearing. People are dying. The maids disappeared, and it's who's doing it? Is it her sister? Who's stalking them? The wife leaves. Basically, it boils down to like an Agatha Christie situation. Who's fucking around with him? Is it the girl who waits? They give you a red herring who waits like a spider, her sister, or is it her who seems a little off? So for sure, I thought it was the sister that, he's Italian. So of course he just had an affair the minute his wife is gone for more than 5 minutes.
Instantly.
Hand on the boob immediately. But I mean, it was a bit of a come on when your brother-in-law is sitting naked in a bathtub and you decide you need to come into the bathroom and talk to him and wash his back. Because
she said, you need a good bath right now, and puts him in the bath. It was her idea. And then he just started grabbing at her. Good Lord.
As far as I know, none of my sisters have gone in and tucked Rob, my brother-in-law, into a bathtub and given him a nice massage on his back. We could ask my sister Tara. See, I mean, maybe that's what they're all down with.
It is wrong.
But it's my recollection that has never happened. And it seems like after a couple glasses of wine, someone would confess that.
Yes.
So go ahead. So he's being hunted. Grand reveal, bad Italian science. It's pretty much who I thought it was. The end.
And I think I'm safe in saying that neither of us had seen this before. Correct?
Never heard of it. Maybe I saw it. No, maybe I heard. I know it's a trio. That's why I started watching the Bird with the Glass Plumage, which was supposed to the crystal plumage, which is so ridiculous. It's supposed to be some bird from Russia.
Yes.
But then when you see it, it's like some fucking African bird that has this plumage right here. Neither crystal nor from Russia. But he has a lot of these movies that are like trilogies. But I think I may have seen some shots of this when I was at this Argento exhibition in Torino.
Well, we're going on a podcast later this month to discuss this movie and Cat o' Nine Tails, both of which Dario Argento giallo classics from Italy that neither of that we had seen before. So this is all an interesting walk in a new direction, to say the least.
I like this. I liked Cat o' Nine Tails better.
I did too.
But again, not as violent as I would remember. There were some classic Argento scenes at the end, but Argento needs to be more violent. I'm sure over time you kind of run out of ways to kill people. I think the ultimate, because he's still pumping these out, I think his final film should be where they incorporate all these unique and bizarre ways of killing people into a single film. Till it just, maybe he can do a collab with Tarantino. Can you imagine that?
Just like a
That would
Faces
be
of Death
beautiful.
kind of thing.
But it has to. But there has to be a story, not just
Interesting.
Faces of Death, where it's just a clip reel. I want to see a story wrapped around like the girl who falls into the room full of barbed wire from Suspiria.
Yep, that's
I
a great
want
scene.
someone to dance to death like Suspiria, the reimagining. I want all these bits and pieces swirled together because that would be great. The head that gets run over by the car until it pops, you know.
Yes. We should let's just jump right into the highlights, because as we say, as with all these Giallo films, it's a mystery. It's a mystery. The main character, the killer's after them, and we don't know why. But this movie, I haven't seen all of Dario Argento's work, but this movie seemed to have bizarre red herrings that went absolutely nowhere. Like the weird crippled guy across the street who's constantly getting Swedish porn mailed to the wrong address. They keep showing him staggering into his apartment. He doesn't even have any lines. Like Italian Celine Dion's looking out her window going, what the heck? What's happening over here? She's not really part of the plot either. Right?
It's just Nosy Neighbors, which is 100% Italian. I mean,
Right.
you walk around the street, what are people doing? They're hanging out their window, seeing what's up.
That's what they do. That's what they do. So that, because I kept wondering, I think we were supposed to think at one point that the crazy crippled porn addict across the street was somehow involved in the murders.
But we know that couldn't be because his hands were twisted in a cloth.
That's just from too much self-pleasure.
Too much Sweden porn.
That'll do it every time. Absolutely.
I wrote down all kinds of just weird nonsense that I saw. I have, first of all, there's someone in the movie, one of the actresses' name is Mimsy, which is a name.
Yes, Mimsy Farmer is one of the actresses.
What a name. We got to bring that back. At the opening titles, there's just a beating chicken heart, because that didn't even look like it was a human heart, but there's just like a beating heart.
No callback.
All at the beginning.
No connection to the rest of the story.
All right. I mean, if that kept reappearing, like every time somebody was getting freaky, then you had to guess whose heart it was. That would have been an idea, but that was not an idea that they did. They did a shot from inside a guitar looking out. I thought that was kind of fun. Just for F's sake.
Well, he was supposed to be a fairly famous drummer. Is that what it was? Like he was, like people knew him.
He's in some kind of band, and he was pretty. He was pretty, although not Italian.
No, he's American. Shockingly,
he's American.
He had that kind of late 60s, early 70s longish hair is what he was going for.
He looks like he could have been in like Sweet or something from back in the day. If you know, you know. Good looking guy, but not a guitar player. And it wasn't his guitar that we were getting a POV from.
Right. He was a drummer. For God's sakes.
It was rando. Yes. And I did write this down. In the town square, there was a kid on a hippity hop bouncing across.
I was see that. Bouncing on the ball.
And it was never coordinated enough to get that thing to go. I would hop and I would fall on my face because the thing stayed behind me.
I mean, for like 20 years, this was called, fun for children. It's like it was a big ball with like handles. And sometimes it'd have like a head or something, like a horse's head might be sticking out of it.
Right.
And you would just bounce along. Just bounce and bounce. And that was fun for hours, evidently.
Until it ran out of air, and then your parents didn't want to go take it to the gas station to fill it up, or it had a leak, and then what do? You put it in the bathtub and try to find where the air is. No, you throw it in the trash.
It's hopeless. It's hopeless.
Maybe next Christmas you can get another one.
So the dude, the drummer, he's leaving rehearsal, and he sees some crazy dude wearing like a trench coat and a fedora. And I guess we're supposed to think, because he kind of says, oh, this guy's been following me lately. So he chases the guy through like an abandoned theater or something. And the guy pulls a switchblade. And in the tussle, the guy stabs himself, is what we're supposed to think. While a crazy.
Right. And as any good citizen would do, you just bounce. Like, oh, let's go. Right. I'm out.
He was attacked. So he thinks he stabbed this dude. The guy falls in the orchestra pit. The audience, see a crazy person with a baby doll face appear in the balcony and start taking pictures.
And I did write down that you see the pictures where they're extreme close up.
Yes.
Not with that camera, not that far away.
Oh, lay it on us. What's the story? No telephoto lens?
You would, back in the old days, you wouldn't need one of these much longer lenses. This would have been, your picture is smaller than your eye, and he's all the way across at the end of the theater in the balcony. And then you see the pictures, it's all these extreme close-ups from the photo mat. So is that it? Is that 1 hour photo? You pick it up and there's just depicting a murder scene?
Well, the good thing is, smash cut, you see the murder, or the person taking the picture, I guess, developing the photos while still wearing the crazy baby doll mask alone. So that's commitment to the...
That's commitment.
Right? I love it when they do that stuff, where it's like, in reality, this would not happen, but we're doing it so the audience doesn't find out the mystery just yet. So,
exactly, because they took their camera, they got on the tram, they went home in there. It looks like one of those Devo. Devo has this thing with like this crazy boy mask. Right. So it was Mark Mothersbaugh was on the tram going home, went into his apartment with all his old lady neighbors hanging out the window watching him, and you're right, committed. Because it's all part of the process. I then spend the rest of my life wearing the mask.
Yes, that's commitment.
That's commitment.
Well, it's like I thought the mask was reminiscent of Happy Death Day, because remember in that
movie,
Killer wore a crazy, which allegedly was the mascot of the school football team or something, which is also a bizarre choice, but that's neither here nor there. There's a scene which I think was meant to be kind of funny, where a delivery man shows up wearing a similar outfit to the guy who he thought he stabbed, and the drummer sets upon him and almost beats him half to death.
Yes, the poor mailman is constantly being assaulted and beaten.
But it's like they show him later, and the mailman's like, ah! Like I think that was meant to be kind of... I mean, rightfully so. Was that meant to be kind of comic relief every other time? Because it didn't seem very funny when he was getting his head fractured by...
Maybe not the first time. But that's what you get when you go around smelling people's mail, so...
That's true.
Did you see that, where he's getting the mail and he's like smelling it?
Maybe that's...
I was like, what the hell? It's not an Italian thing. And then I wrote down the mail says it's addressed to, it just says city. It doesn't have a name of the town. I was trying to figure out, like, if you're mailing something from the same town, do you just write city? But anyway, the mail it had a street, and then it just said città, which is city.
Now, what was the story? He's got a weird old bearded guy who lives down by the river that he goes and visits him, who's evidently very smart. God. For Godfrey. And in Italian, it's an entirely different name. Like, it's like, his name's like Dio, but Diomedes or something. And like they have to change it for the Italian audience, which makes sense.
Dio is God.
No, I understand. In the English dub, it's Godfrey. In Italian, it's Diomedes or something. So he's got a weird bearded guy lives down by the river that he visits and gets advice from. But there's also like a crazy scamp that lives down there in a hammock or something, who's like, I'll help out too. So it's like
Honestly, I at first I was like, are these like, you always have your like the Sean Wheelers, like maybe these were your high
Poor
school.
Sean Wheeler.
No, never say poor Sean Wheeler. He
Okay.
gets what he gets.
He gets what
But
he gets.
is this like someone you went to high school with, but you're still in contact with, but obviously they stayed on the shadier side of town? But here's the deal. These are people are clearly much older than him. So what's their
Yes.
connection? This is the freaks that used to buy you liquor when you were underage. What is their connection? How do they know each
No
other?
explanation. No explanation. But it clearly, like, Bearded Godfrey is like kind of a learned, educated, like he's got like worldly knowledge to share. He's giving advice on here's what you should do, and we'll have Freaky Joe in the hammock. He'll spend his days, he'll be your bodyguard during the day. How's that grab you? It's there's there's never any backstory given. We're just supposed to accept it. So good times.
So dig this. They offer Freaky Joe. God tells Freaky Joe that you have to pay him and he'll watch your house. So I
Yes.
went on and I forget what they said. It was gonna be
Certain amount of lira.
1,000. It was 1,000 lira. So
Right.
I went online. I said, "What's the conversion rate in 1972 lira to dollars?" So it's 583 lira to $1. So he was going to be getting less than $2 a day to watch the house.
Well,
And
that's nice.
let me tell you, kids, even in 1972 dollars, that ain't shit.
We had low overhead. You just live in the forest in a hammock.
It's
I mean,
true.
what else you need?
God bless the internet. Where else can I find out what the conversion rate in 1972
God
is?
bless. Well, I mean, you could also Google how much was like $1.75 worth in 1972, if you were so inclined. So
No, I'm not.
no, not so much.
I'll leave that to you.
Later in the movie, he hires a private detective who was gay. Like they really hammer the point that this is the gay dick, if you will, is on the case, who brags about how he's had like over 80 cases and has never solved any of them. So he's
They're not
like,
going to
my
pay you
streak will
double.
end soon. That'll be amazing. It's like, okay, that's helpful.
He comes in, he's like painting, he's doing the home repair because he has nothing else to do.
Right. Absolutely. And he had a hellacious comb over as well. There's a lot of these hellacious comb overs in early 70s Italian cinema where the hair is totally thin, but they're still kind of scraping it and twisting it around a little bit. It's, yeah.
Gluing it down, waxing it down.
It's like, what are you doing, bro? Come on. Who are you fooling? Very upsetting. But evidently he's a good enough a detective that he kind of figures out who the murderer is, but he does that old Italian giallo move where he's on the phone and says, I know who the killer is. I'll tell you later.
I'll tell you later. Let's meet in some bizarre dark alley in about 3 hours. I can't ever tell you on the phone.
Can't do it. Can't do it.
Oh my God.
So the maid of the wealthy wife and the rock star husband figures out, so like she's gonna figure out what the story is because the rock star is being blackmailed by the killer for, well, we don't know if she's a killer yet.
Not for money. It's just like he's being tormented. The pictures are showing
You're
up.
absolutely right. Yeah, it's sending in the pictures of here's you committing this murder.
Yeah.
What do you live in fear.
Live in fear, you jackass.
So the maid figures something out. And then she's targeted. This is the first murder, if I'm not misremembering. The first murder is the maid figures out who the killer is. And she goes to meet the killer. So she starts to try to blackmail the killer in the park. And now suddenly the park's the middle of the night. And now she's like trying to escape through these weird like alleyways that are like super thin. And she's squeezing through while the killer's trying to get at her. Very
I
strange.
wasn't sure if she was the killer because all of a sudden she was like having a fugue moment. 1 minute it's daylight, the park is
Yes.
filled with children, and then all of a sudden she looks up, everyone's gone,
Yes.
and they've like locked her in the place, and then she runs over because someone's now following her,
Yes.
and there's some bullshit couple on the other side of the
I was
wall.
laughing about that.
You'll be fine. He's like, gives some half-ass attempt to jump up on the wall. How about the crazy bitch give him a little hand up? Nobody
No
thought
can
of
do.
that. I can't
can
help
do.
you. You'll be fine. She's like, no, someone's yeah.
Here, I'll jump
Women
up.
and their complaints. Women and their complaints.
Here it comes.
Whoops.
Here it comes.
Whoops.
Yes, the couple on the outside of the park are like, "Hey, you'll be fine. Let me try to help. I can't really get over. I'm being murdered. Well, sorry. Better luck next time." Wah wah. That was an amusing moment.
That was
So poor
very
maid bites the
amusing.
dust. And then of course, after the well, here's the thing about this movie. We didn't even talk about this. We watched it on Plex. Plex is one of the newer free streaming apps, and Plex sucks. It is the worst.
Sucks.
It's got a big library, so that's nice. It's full of ads, which, you know, if you're gonna watch it for free, I guess you get what you get. But on mine, and Aaron, you might have had a different experience. On mine is you'd watch, I don't know, 10 or 12 minutes of it. An ad would kick in, like 7 ads. You
Yes.
watch all 7, and instead of bringing you back right where you left off, it takes you back to some other part of the story. So you're like, but I already saw this. And if you watch that whole thing again, it just keeps kicking you back to that exact same spot. So you have to try to fast forward back to where you left off, but then it freezes and crashes. So then you have to leave the app, come back in, and hopefully you're able to get back to where you left off. So
I did not have that experience. It did overlap a little bit where it cut off. It also cut off in the middle of a murder scene, and then after 6 ads about fentanyl and mashed potatoes. Every ad was about fentanyl and mashed potatoes. I wrote it down. Then it would cut you back at the end of literally the end of the movie. It cut with 30 seconds left, and then went back and it finished the scenes. There's no rhyme or reason where it cuts.
Well, and we didn't talk about this. The movie is dubbed into English.
Which I hate.
No, that's the best. That's how you have to watch the Italian giallo, because the dubbing is so ridiculous. Because in Italy at that time, at least, even in Italian, it was dubbed.
You're
Basically,
right.
They didn't, like, normally you would kind of make sure that it's a closed set. You know, you're worried about like the outside sounds. You're trying to make sure it's quiet, so when people are speaking, it's not obscuring it. In Italy, they would just do whatever. So there'd be like construction going by, as a guy like revving his motorcycle. They would just record it all and then have the whole cast come back and then redub their parts. So it's dubbed even in the native language.
Even in the native, but what I like about the Italian is I like to hear the swear words, which they cut out of the dub.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Bafangula.
Yeah. Vaffanculo. Yeah. Cazzo, stronzo, all the good stuff.
But the other gooch about Plex, and from what I understand, there's something about this movie. Like movie was lost for a time. So they kind of knitted it back together as best as they could, which means that there were scenes where it was like the image changed, like the image quality changed from time to time.
Yes.
Throughout the movie.
What the hell? What the hell was that?
It looked good most of the time, but every now and again it'd be like, here's a shitty moment where it's like suddenly it's too washed out or it's too crazy or something. And in the climax where the killer is explaining her motivations, it just cuts right into Italian.
Yes.
No dubbing, no explanation.
So that was yours too.
Yes. Yes.
For no apparent, maybe this is the only copy that exists anymore in the earth. It would cut between she's speaking Italian, speaking like no rhyme, no reason. I was like, whoa. And
Right.
then you speak English again. And then the other people are all speaking English. Then all of a sudden, you talking Italian again.
Yes. Because that's how
Quality, market quality.
when they would do these movies, and we've talked about this before, typically they would try to have the main characters would be like English actors or American actors, and they would speak English. Okay, but they'd be playing off of Italian actors who generally didn't speak any English. So they would speak back to them in Italian. And then they would just, when it's all over, they would just dub it whatever language they needed it to be for whatever market they were putting it out for. So
I just don't know how you know
happening.
your cues. I just don't know. I mean,
right. Wait till they stop talking.
And there's a pause. So, it's my line now.
My turn. My turn. Absolutely. That's how you live in the moment. Needless to say, the Plex is a train wreck. But you can watch all the Dario Argento you want if you don't mind putting up with the debacle for free. So that's something.
Well, the other fun thing is there is no second audio, so any writing in Italian is not translated. Yes. So there was one adesso è finita tocca a te. Now it's your turn.
Yes.
So now the killer, but it was all in Italian, so you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah, newspaper clippings, the journals that he's writing. I would have to pause it, get out my phone, put on the Google app, and turn on the camera, and then, which is really kind of cool. If you haven't done this,
100%.
Take a picture of, not take a picture, but use the camera onto whatever the writing is, and it will literally translate it, like erase the wording and put it in English in front of you, or any language you want, which is very cool.
Although it's amazing for travel.
Yeah. Didn't work that well on this case. It would be like some words. It was like, I don't know if it was something with the Plex or trying to do it on a TV screen, but it was, sometimes you got the gist. Basically.
I had that with problem with Temu packages where I go to take a picture of all the Chinese writing and it all comes up with just random words.
Right.
Cloud, sun, what?
Anywho, this movie was an adventure, to say the least. I like how the main character is convinced that he accidentally murdered somebody. And he's like, I don't want the cops to know. I'm just going to try to lay low. But I swear to God, he tells everyone he meets that he murdered some guy.
It's the guilty conscience, the telltale heart. It's the guilt. Plus, the record's about to drop. Isn't that what it is? Like, he's trying to hold it together because they're going to be big in Japan.
Tells his wife.
Eurovision's coming up.
Cousin, is that who she is? Tells Godfrey and Skeezix down by the river. He tells the
the Catholic guilt. The guilt.
He tells the private investigator, I murdered somebody last week. I think they're He tells everybody. He's like, but keep it under your hat. So it's, of course, later it's revealed he didn't actually kill the person. It was a setup, and it was a trick knife. That's when it goes in, it kind of squirts out some blood as well. But so the true murderer is now going around and kills her compatriot, the guy who pretended to be murdered because he wanted a little more cash.
Yeah.
Right. So there's, again, as we're watching this, finally the wife, and we talked about this, goes like, we just need to get away. Why don't we get out of here and go do our thing? And he's like, nah, I'm just going to stay. I'm going to be a man and just stay. And she's like, well, I guess I'm leaving then. And he's like, okay, deuces. Later.
Deuces. Later, bitch.
Basically, it was such a bizarre moment. And like you said, that evening, he immediately begins an affair with the cousin who just showed up one day.
Yeah. Not even hesitant. He was just going for it.
And again, this is the hero. I mean, I guess it's Italy. They don't give a damn. They're like, whatever, do your thing, playa.
Do your thing.
But
Playa's got to play.
It seems like it makes him less, sympathetic.
Yeah.
When he immediately is cheating on his concerned wife.
Exactly. So then you wonder, okay, so I'm assuming they're touring, so he's effing everybody. Because there wasn't even a hesitation. It was like, I walked under an apple tree and an apple presented itself, so of course I picked it.
Absolutely. Now again, the cousin was wearing some kind of a weird top with like a boob popping out constantly, and
Yes.
was like, "Why don't I massage you naked in the bath?" So I mean, she was now she kind of did a half-ass. What are you doing? Stop grabbing me. Leave me. Okay, I changed my mind. Hop in. Let's do
Yeah.
this.
Smash cut, as Kevin says. They're both in the bathtub staring at each other.
Yes. Yes. Sweet Jesus. So when it's revealed who the murderer is, it was kind of like there's only so many characters left. Everybody else has been murdered.
Yeah.
So
You're
it
running
must
out of
be
folk.
running out of folks. But then the motivation for the plan just seemed so ridiculous. Do you want to hit us with what her motivation was?
Her motivation is she's crazy. That's what the
Basically.
motivation is. She had a shitty papa who raised her as a boy, and she was never good enough. And now she just decided that her husband is just like her daddy.
Well, she married him because he
Yes.
reminded her of her stepfather. So she married him fully intending to eventually F with him. Like this was, and then how many years they've been married? Well, she was waiting for the perfect moment to strike.
It's
It was
ridiculous. It
yeah.
was ridiculous.
I loved that later when like earlier in the movie when one of the bodies is discovered, the cops are like, well, this is clearly the work of a maniac.
That's right. That is a scientific. Did we watch another one when the autopsy came and it was homicidal maniac or something? I'm like, is that what the coroner decides? Is that right? Clearly, that's the only explanation.
Yes,
death by maniac.
It was a maniac on the loose. Yeah. So she was abused by her stepfather, who she was never good enough and would dress her up as a boy, which is why she has kind of shorter hair as an adult, I guess, is what we're supposed to think.
That's the only explanation why a woman would cut her hair in Italy.
And exactly. And she was in an insane asylum until her stepfather died. And then she seemed to snap out of it. Now her mania is cured. Yep, she's ready to re-enter society. Her husband, of course, was oblivious to any of this. But this woman's insane plan is, I'm going to hire a guy to stalk my husband for weeks, for however long, until my husband gets so pissed off, he confronts the man. And then the man has to kind of contrive to be, you've stabbed me with my own knife. And then that'll make him feel bad.
That'll make him feel bad. But it is important that you marry the guy that you are hunting and planning on killing. It's important.
Well, and there's that scene when you discover that the wife is the killer. There's a scene where he wakes up in a cold sweat or whatever. His wife's asleep next to him. He gets up in the middle of the night, wanders through the house for some reason, and then the killer comes up behind him with like a garrote or whatever, and tries to get at him, wearing the crazy baby. So that was the wife. Later jumping up immediately.
Who's as small as like Mia Farrow. It's like literally having a gnat land on your back.
Yes.
Like you just shake it off.
So she kind of I don't remember what she said, but it was something like, I could have killed you right now, but I'm not going to. I'll do it some other time, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, now she's a vampire? What the First of all, it's all dubbed in English, so I don't know what this accent is.
Oceans of time to find
Oceans of time.
Yes, the whole thing is nonsense. It's ridiculousness. So Godfrey shows up and blows her away. So that was nice of him. The bearded man by the river.
And he looks so familiar, but when I was digging through his stuff, I'm like, I don't know who this motherfucker is.
I think he's American too, if I'm remembering this correctly. There's a couple Americans sprinkled in
who just do Italian films. I mean, that's once upon a time in America. That's where he goes off to Italy. Remember?
Right. Well, it's like Clint Eastwood.
Oh, yeah. No,
Clint
not
Eastwood
once upon a time. I mean, the
Hollywood,
Tarantino one. Once upon a time in a Hollywood, yeah.
Right.
He goes off to do his spaghetti westerns and gets his Italian wife.
Absolutely. All those dudes went to Italy during the 60s because their Hollywood careers kind of dry up. And if they're Clint Eastwood, it kind of reignites interest. And if you're this dude, I guess you just stay in Italy. You're like, such is life.
No one was calling me back. They're like, "This is the one. This is the
This
one."
is the one. You got anything else? Any other thoughts and feelings?
I have just a couple of notes. How about when they go to the funeral convention
Yes.
that has the most bizarre, God bless Italian design,
Yeah.
the most bizarre coffins, not just your standard box, but they were like, I'm not sure how the corpse fits into some of these
Right.
designs. It's like
Just fold it in there.
Kali.
Well, it was like a heart for you and your wife. Throw both
That's
in
right.
there.
Throw both in there. There was just so many different ones.
Why were they there? Do you remember why they went to the coffin convention?
They had to talk to someone there, and I can't remember what came out of that. I was too dazzled by the most bizarre shaped coffins, glass on the bottom and shit like that. I'm not sure how that all works, but it was ridiculous.
Yes.
Who did they talk to? Was the investigator there or something? I can't remember. Why the hell they were there. I did write down that their apartment looked like Dirk Diggler's from Boogie Nights.
Oh, absolutely. Shag carpeting.
Shag carpeting. It was 100% beautiful.
What about that phone that they answered? It was like it was like a block of wood, and you kind of pull off some weirdo long thing. Hello. It was all lacquered and strange. I don't know what the hell it was.
Dude, we mocked that for so many years, and now you find some of that weirdness. It's top dollar. It's all popular right now.
Top drawer all the way, no question.
Top drawer all the way. And we neglected to talk about the still head sliding down the stairs. As
yes, that was the cousin, right?
Yeah, it was the cousin. Oh, the wife dispatched her cousin. Fabulous.
Yes.
Extreme
I do remember that.
I was like, yay!
Sweet Jesus. Shall we go behind the scenes?
Oh, we didn't talk about this. Hang on. You talked about how there was that weird science, which was not around in the 70s, I'll tell you that, where the image is burned into the eye. Yes. But many horror films go back to that. I have Eyeball with Beats. Did I mean Eyeball with Beats by Dre? Oh, I think it reminded me. Wasn't there somebody with? Okay, never mind. I don't know what that means. Then I talked about the Italian. Oh, go ahead. No, I'm done. After all, my other stuff is for behind the scenes.
Dario Argento's usual collaborator Ennio Morricone scored the film. But they had a major argument with Argento over some of the tracks Argento didn't want in it. And as a result, the director and Morricone would not work together again until 1996. And that's when the rock group Goblin slid in and became Argento's regular composers. Boom.
Yes.
After this movie.
After this movie, you gotta love the Goblin for sure. And I regret not buying that Goblin album 2 years ago when I was at a music festival.
You should. For God's sake. There was a moment where it was a slow motion bullet effect where the wife shoots her husband. And it was notable because it's the first time they had the slow motion bullet that was later used in like Hong Kong action films as well as The Matrix. So there you go. This inspired those other things.
It might have been one of those weird ads for Plex where they just decided I didn't need to see that.
You may be right. Deep Purple was originally considered for the soundtrack. How about that? Ooh. Do you remember Deep Purple?
Yes. That would have been interesting. It just doesn't seem like they would have Deep Purple money.
I mean,
these are a little budgety. These are a little budgety.
Let's see. The Italian poster for Dario Argento's earlier film, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, can be seen in a street shot as Roberto drives through the city.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
Okay.
Let's see. It was Jean-Pierre Mariel's own idea to make his character the detective gay. He did
Oh,
that. He
well,
added that to give his character a little more character, I
well,
guess.
I mean, because that really brought the whole thing together.
That tied it all together. Absolutely. Some of the earlier cast considerations for the main role of Roberto Tobias were, are you ready?
All right.
Terrence Stamp,
You know I love Blimey. It's the Limey.
Michael York,
Uh,
James Taylor,
what the?
and Ringo Starr.
I actually, honestly, I would be happy with any of those. That would have been
You would?
amazing.
Okay, fair
But
enough.
as we know, with considerations, I have briefly considered that fill in the blank will be my husband next. These are all just people had an idea in their head. This is all bullshit.
Pretty much. In the United States, the soundtrack by Ennio Morricone is available on CD, while the movie itself was unavailable until early 2009.
Ah,
Wah,
very,
wah.
very, very amusing.
I think that's about it. Should we talk about the cast?
Lay it on me.
Let's see. Who do we want to know about? Michael Brandon played the main character, the drummer Roberto Tobias. They do this sometimes where it's obviously American actors, but they give them like Italian sounding names. He's known for 8 episodes of the TV show Episodes. There you go. He was Senator Brandt in Captain America: The First Avenger. That's something recently.
Okay.
He was in Four Flies on Grey Velvet in 1971. And he was in one episode in 2015 of Gallivant.
All right, let me tell you why he's really famous.
Lay it on me.
One, at one point, he was in a relationship with Kim Novak, if you remember the old Hollywood star. And 2, he was married to the Bionic Woman,
Lindsay Wagner.
That's why he's famous.
Famous for dating other people that were more famous. Interesting.
Boom. That's a thing.
That is a thing. Like John Peters was in a relationship with Barbara Streisand. He was her hairdresser and parlayed that into becoming a high-ranking movie producer. And
boom.
Here we go. Mimsy Farmer played Nina Tobias, the crazy wife. You know her from 1969's More.
No, don't know that.
She's in the art department of Guardians of the Galaxy. She's a sculptor.
I think that's what, you know what? And I appreciate that. You see so often like these Hollywood people, like if you watched, what was that 3-hour debacle about early Hollywood? Babylon. These guys, when their career runs out of acting, they like drink themselves to death.
Right.
I mean, you got to be with it enough to see the writing on the wall. And if you want to stay into Hollywood, go into producing, go into acting. I mean, old Mimsy, she is working in the art department. She's a sculptor. She's moved on. She's still in the biz. Whatever.
Still in the biz. Good on her.
Yeah.
She was Billy in 1970's The Road to Selena. And
is that Selena the singer that got killed?
That's correct. She was also in the art department for Pirates of the Caribbean on Stranger Tides. So she's still doing her thing. Good on her.
Bless her.
Who else do you want to know about?
Nobody. God.
How about Bud Spencer, who played Godfrey, or Diomede in Italian? You know her from They Call Me Trinity in 1970. He was in Watch Out, We're Mad in 1974.
That's the name of my new band. Watch Out, We're Mad.
In 1971, he was in Trinity Is Still My Name. And in 1978, he was in Lo Chiamavano, Bulldozer.
Okay.
There you go. That means something.
That means
good
nothing
times
to me.
Shall we talk about
I think he reminds me of the Italian actor who is in Barbarella, the guy with the hair sweater.
Oh, right.
That maybe that's what's throwing me off, because that actor is actually famous.
I mean, this
So
dude's
I'm
been in a ton of stuff in Italy. He's very popular. He was born Carlo Pedersoli in Naples, and he took the name Bud Spencer, which I think is funny. Let's see.
What is the most terrible American sounding name I can think of? There we go.
That's basically
Bud.
what it is. Shall we talk about the rating?
Lay it on me.
Four Flies on Grey Velvet currently has 63% on the Rotten Tomatoes.
It seems low. It seems low. That seems more of a bird of the crystal plumage rating than this.
When the flies start to crawl, so will your flesh. That's the tagline.
Much as a bunch of shit. Every so often you'll see a fly.
That's
Okay.
true. Do you know what the audience gave it?
A 98.
60. Boom.
Who's
Let's
the
talk about the
audience?
top critics, shall we?
Yes.
Sam Abrams of The Village Voice says, possessed camera work, elliptical editing, and discordantly playful score by Ennio Morricone conspire against viewers and establish this as one of Argento's most suspenseful efforts.
Boom.
Boom, boom.
5 out of 5?
They didn't say, but it's considered fresh. Ed Gonzalez of Slant Magazine. As far as Argento films go, none come weirder than the little scene Four Flies on Grey Velvet. 3 out of 4. That's
I think
positive.
it's important. I don't know how you can even do this. When we look at ratings, I really feel like we need to look at the ratings from when it came out. Because you can't have like a bunch of people in their 20s rating this right now.
Well, let me say this. Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times says, there are a few scary moments in the dark, but then there's that image on the retina gimmick, which we can't believe, and a conclusion that's so arbitrary we feel tricked. 2.5 out of 4.
How dare you, sir? How dare you, sir? I say good day, sir.
When I was doing research on this, a lot of the critics who disliked it was what we talked about, where it was the bizarre red herrings that led to nothing and meant nothing.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where it's
100%.
like, there are red herrings in mystery movies and novels. We get that. But these were literally like, I'm going to focus on a background extra as if that's important. And we're never going to reference it again. But we put it out there often enough that you think...
Like the beating heart.
Yes.
That should have been coming back. But...
No, not so much. So what is your rating, Aaron, for Four Flies on Grey Velvet?
I am going to give it 3.5 old dirty flies on a McDonald's French fry out of 5.
I'm going to give it 2.5 incestuous back rubs in the bathtub. It was... it's fine. I didn't think it was boring. I thought it was fairly entertaining, but the mystery was nonsense. Was utter...
Well, the reality is the mysteries are always nonsense. This is like this is more of a, like one of those Agatha Christie's where it's either the person that you're never going to suspect or it's somebody who's already dead. You're never your mind immediately wants to solve it, even though deep in your heart it's going to be a rando.
Right. I mean,
you're never going to get it.
Only you can make it crazier if there's only one murder, and then at the end the murder pops up and they're revealed as the murderer. It's me.
I murdered myself. It's a suicide.
Basically.
And I'm appearing as a ghost to tell you, to reveal everything to you.
We've talked about this before. I haven't seen that many. I've probably seen like 4 or 5 Argento films. I would argue this was the least successful in my mind. What are your thoughts? Not horrendous, but just not that good.
Well, wait till you see The Bird in the Crystal Plumage. Although I was on TikTok a lot during that because I was like,
what happened?
So who can say? It was just because I knew I didn't have to take notes. Honestly, when it's not dubbed, I am forced to pay more attention because I have to read,
Right.
and I can't be on my phone going. Oh,
You can't do that.
no.
Although I do that sometimes, then I have to rewind it. What happened? Womp womp.
There seems to be
Moving
some
on.
action.
Thank you very much. You can go to our page on X, Twitter. We're on YouTube. We're on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook. We're all over the map. You can also email us at the podcast that wouldn't die at
Gmail.
We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review. Won't you? Aaron, what is your social media situation?
Oh, so much media. I have really not posted anything. One day I'll come back to that. It'll be a thing. I am on the gram. I used the word the gram in front of my class, and I heard a girl go to her friend. She means Instagram.
Because no one else on earth calls it that.
What do they call it? Insta?
Insta.
Then I'm calling it the gram. I'm
or
making
IG.
It a thing.
IG is probably the more appropriate. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, that's not fetch.
Stop trying to make fetch happen.
I am the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. I am also Don't Feed the Pigeon. Professionally, I am on First Dibs and Artsy. Aaron Doherty. Buy something. The holidays are fast approaching.
Very nice. As you know, each week we try to include some viewer, listener mail or comments on social media. And here we go.
Yay.
Talking about our film, The Pope's Exorcist.
Yes.
George Hannah Wilson says, "This is on my list. I plan on watching it soon. Looks like some dumb fun." What do you think about that?
Dumb is a good word. But honestly, this could have been so great. Russell Crowe, his character is so amazing. You just need to get a writer in there that takes advantage because he's the best part. But the rest of the story is stupid and boring and makes no fucking sense. But he is amazing. This could be his John Wick, man.
He's the best part of waking up. No question.
Is Russell in your cup?
Taproom Tabby says, "It was a lot better than I thought it was going to be. I was pleasantly surprised."
Well, there you have it. That's a kind of acceptance. That's a kind of a good review. I thought it was going to be a burning pile of dog shit, but no, it's more like rabbit turns.
It was almost presentable. Right. Good times. Next week, we have a very special episode. We are recording Creepshow, the original George Romero Stephen King classic. And we got a guest. Our buddy Ed from the Film Effect podcast will be here to join us. So that will be fun as well. So
I have to tell you, I have seen that fucking movie so many times that when I went to watch it last weekend, I was like, I don't even need to look at it. It's one of those things it's like Seinfeld. I can like put the sleep timer on and I don't even have to look up because I already know what's happening.
Absolutely. It's an old classic, for goodness sake. So send in your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions, and we may talk about it on the show.
No, so we will.
We will talk about it on the show.
We will, God damn it.
Whether you like it or not.
And we will use your full name. So if you don't want that, you better say it. Otherwise, it's out there.
Absolutely.
You don't throw a fit.
I'm gonna dox you. I'm gonna give your social and your home address. Well, I'm at it. That's your reward and your punishment. So thank you very much, and be well.
Deuces.